Hi, everybody, and thank you for joining us. We are going to get started. Welcome to VESTA Communication, the home of VESTA, and our webinar on VESTA Communicator. My name is Wanda Rowe, and I'm here with the marketing team at Airbus. In order to maximize your participation in today's webinar, I'm going to cover just a few housekeeping items. First, due to the large number of participants, all lines are muted so we can get a clean recording. The reason we do this is so later today we will be sending you an email with a link to this recording so that if you want to watch it again or send it to colleagues, you can. Second, if you have any questions, use the Q&A module, which is at the top right-hand corner of the WebEx panel. And of course, the best time to send us your question is when you think of it. At the conclusion of the presentation, we will be taking questions, and if we see any that come up during the presentation, we'll also take them then. And finally, if you have any issues using WebEx, use chat mode, and I'll try and help you. Let's get started. I want to introduce our panelist, Bernie Mead, who's a product trainer, and he's been here at Airbus for a little over 3 years. And there's Daniel, I mean Bernie. And go ahead, Bernie.
Oh, it's fine. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mama.
That's good. I'm not going to do it. It's your turn.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome. My name is Bernie Mead. I'm the product training specialist here at VESTA Communications, also known as the trainer. We also have Jonathan Solomon on the phone with us today. He's our product line manager, and he will be around to answer any questions at the end as well. Wanda, did you have anything else to add before we get started here?
No, let's get started.
Okay, perfect. All right, so what I'd like to do today is discuss what's new in VESTA Communicator 5.1. We're really excited about the new features that we've put in the portal in the 5.1 version. So I'd like to discuss those, also do a demonstration. I will show you all of these new features live in our training test system. And then probably most important, again, at the end is the Q&A session. So if you have any questions, feel free to send those via chat, and we'll compile those and answer those questions at the end, okay? All right, so here are the new features in VESTA Communicator 5.1. On the left, you'll see the key features, and on the right would be the key benefits of those features. So let me go through these quickly, and then I'm just going to log in and actually show them to you live. So the first thing are custom user roles. Customize which modules a user can access. So right now, or traditionally in Communicator, you had these built-in security user roles like administrator, creator, things like that. Now you can actually make your own. So we're really excited about that. I'm going to show you that feature in a minute. We've also got Alertus integration where you can activate Alertus devices from within a scenario. And Alertus, of course, is a product outside of Communicator, but we have included that functionality in this 5.1 version. So I'll talk a lot about Alertus here in a little bit and how that part of it works. Message filtering, search, and selection, more powerful message options. We have a ton of new, the ability to filter messages, search them, things like that. So I'm going to show you that. Data sync reset. It is now integrated into the portal, so you no longer need to contact our technical support team to reset your data sync. And again, if you don't know what that is, I'll talk more about that in a minute. Also, you can use the voice message for the answer machine message. What we've done is we put a little checkbox when you're selecting your messages, when you're about to activate a scenario, that will automatically make the answering machine message whatever you have in the voice message drop down. So again, a great new feature. And then finally, in the settings tab, we have added a new configuration tab. It gives you a lot more control where you can manage configuration items yourself from the portal. So that's basically just kind of a bullet point look at what I'm about to show you. So what I'd like to do now is go ahead and go to the demonstration phase, and I'll actually just log into the system and show you all of these great new features. By the way, all of these features are based on feedback that we've received from our clients of things that they would like to see in the system. And what we do is compile those feature requests, and that's how we end up with all this great stuff in the new version 5.1. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead now, and I want to close that. Sorry about that. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and log in to my VESTA Communicator 5.1 system. And of course, logging in has not changed at all in this version. So I'm just going to log in like I normally do in Communicator and hit log in. So let's start with the first new feature. The first new feature is custom user roles. You know, again, normally when you're looking at your security users, you go up here to the Settings tab at the top, and then there's a tab right here that says Security Users. And we can see all of our security users here like we've always been able to, and those people are generally administrators, power users, creators, users, and roster users. So basically in the past, that's what you basically selected for people to be when it came to your security users that you wanted to log into the system. But what we've done in this new version, if you'll notice way down here toward the end, we put a new Roles tab. So if I click on Roles, you'll see all of the regular built-in roles now, which are, again, administrator, creator, user, roster user, and power user. And then you'll also notice that I've got one here that is a custom role. Okay, so this is one that I've created. So, you know, maybe those stock built-in security user roles are not what you're looking for. You're looking for something a little more specific. That's where this comes into play. So in order to create a custom role, it's over here in the Quick Actions menu where it says Add Role, right over here on the left. So if I click on Add Role, and I'll just kind of, you know, recap this really quick, and then I'll show you the one that I created. But you want to give the role a name. I'm just going to put Test. And the role scope, what that means, if you click on All, anything that you select down here for them to have access to is what they're going to have. If you click on Assigned, then anything that you click down here for them to have access to is going to be limited to whatever you have assigned to them, like what departments you've given them permissions over, what groups you've given permissions over, etc. Okay? And then down here, you basically just select what you want them to have access to. So let me cancel out of this, and I'll go and open up this one that I've already created for an HR admin. So what I wanted to do was create a role for an HR admin to where they could go in and add contact records to my communicator system, and also import contacts and create groups of people, because HR generally is looking to do that in your system, to add people to your system. So I just basically called it HR admin. I selected all. Under Start Page, this right here, whenever I logged into Communicator, you may remember it defaulted to the Scenarios tab. So whatever you select here is what it's going to default them to go into when they first log in. And then down here is where you give their permissions. So for the HR admin, what I wanted to do was give them create, modify, and delete permissions. That means that they can create contact records, change them, or delete them. Okay, and then over to the right of that, I check the import box. I want them to be able to import in a spreadsheet of contacts. So I've given them pretty much all permissions over contacts. For groups, I gave them create, modify, and delete as well, because I want them to create groups of these contacts, groups of these employees, okay? But nothing else, I didn't give them access to anything else. Now, I could have given them access to the Messages tab, the Scenarios tab, etc. on down the line. If you'll notice next to Scenarios, you can give people just start and stop activation permissions. So if you don't want them to be able to create, modify, and delete scenarios, or even just create or modify scenarios, you can leave that as no access and then check the box that says start and stop. So now all this person could do is come in and start and stop scenario activations. Over on the far right, we've even given you the ability to give them instant activation permissions by clicking this checkbox. Now, if you'll notice, when you click that checkbox, they automatically have start and stop activations because they need to be able to do that with the instant activation. Underneath that, for surveys, they can start and stop activations directly from the Surveys tab, and then also under Reports, they can start and stop. So you have those options there because we integrated the ability to proceed to the activation within all of these particular areas of Communicator recently. So that's basically all there is to creating a custom user role. So I basically saved that HR admin role, and now I have it available to assign to my security users. So I'll kind of show you how that works. If I go back here to security users, and let's say I find a person, I don't know, Mickey Mouse, okay? So let's say that Mickey Mouse was an administrator. Okay, so right now if I'm looking at this, next to Mickey Mouse it says administrator, so all I have to do is hit change next to their name, change them to being an HR admin, which is my new custom user role, and then hit save. And you can see that that changed their user role there to the one that I just created. So now if I go and I log out of Communicator, and let's say that I go ahead and just log in as this person, you'll see it there. Contacts and groups are the only two tabs they have. So that is exactly how you create your own custom user role. And again, we're really excited about this functionality in the version 5.1. Okay?
Really nice. Yeah.
Thank
like
you.
It.
Thanks. All right. Might help if I put my correct password in. There we go. All right, so that's the first new feature, the ability to create custom user roles, okay? So you've got your regular built-in and any custom ones that you do. Also, there is a copy role function that we've put down here on the left-hand side under Quick Actions. So let's just take a scenario. Let's say that I want to make somebody kind of like a creator, but I don't want them to quite have everything the creator does, but I want to kind of mirror that. So what I can do is put a check next to creator and click on copy role, and maybe I want to call this creator 2. And then I can go down here and it automatically shows me what a creator can do in the system, and all I got to do is alter it from there. So maybe I don't want them being able to import spreadsheets, so I could just uncheck that and hit save, and now I've got that new custom security user role. So that's pretty much it when it comes to creating custom user roles. And again, very, very powerful stuff because now you're in control of, giving them access to what you want them to have access to and taking away access to what you don't want them to have access to. Okay?
Now who all can assign these roles? Do you have to have special permissions?
Yeah, to be able to go in and create, you have to initially be an administrator, and then you can actually create those roles from there. And then, people can log in as those roles after you create them. Good question.
Okay. All right.
All right, so let's look at the next new feature. Jonathan, did you have anything to add to that, by the way? Okay.
No,
I think we're good.
Bertie, sounds great.
Okay, thanks, John. All right, so next we have Alertus integration. Now, Alertus is a mass notification system where you can set off things like wall beacons, sirens, things like that. If you have an Alertus system, you kind of already know what it is, but it's basically just another mass notification system. Instead of contacting people on devices and such, you're contacting people on these particular devices, like again, a wall beacon is like just something that's on a wall that has red lights around it and it flashes and shows words and stuff like that, and then you can set off sirens and things like that. So if you do have the Alertus program, which again is through another company, we have integrated that into our portal here. So the way that works is if I go here to a scenario And let's say that I, click on one of these scenarios. Let's say this active shooter scenario. Let's say that, I'm pre-planning for an active shooter situation on campus B or in building B, okay? So what I would do is go in and create the scenario, and I'll just click on it here, just to kind of show you what I've already done prior to the presentation today. So I've created this active shooter scenario, and I know what devices it's going to within my communicator system. That way if there's ever an active shooter at building B, I can just activate this. But if you'll notice here, when you go into the scenario, you'll see there's a tab here called Alert Us. And on this is where you can choose whether or not you want an Alert Us alert to be included in your scenario activation. So if you'll notice, there's a checkbox up here that says Include Alert Us Alert. If I uncheck that and save the scenario that I just built, then it's not going to use the Alert Us devices. So obviously if you don't have Alert Us, that's what you would do, is you would make sure that that's unchecked when you save your scenario. If you do have Alert Us though, you'll see a lot of stuff that displays down here, okay, kind of like mine is right now. So that tells you that I have an Alert Us server that's already been configured to my system, so I can click on Include Alert Us Alert, and whenever I activate this active shooter scenario, it will alert those devices for the Alert Us system. Now, if you'll notice here, there are preset alerts that I've already configured in my Alert Us system, and so there's a drop down here, and I can see all of the different ones that are in my system here. Okay, so we've got a, whenever you select it, it's going to show you the preview of it below. So I've got an intruder lockdown, a lot of different stuff here. Okay. Now, there's one up here that I've already built called an active shooter, and it just says this is a test from VESTA Communicator. This is only a test. So this is my preset Alert Us alert that I just chose here on the drop down. Now, if I want to, instead of using the Alert Us alert, I can use whatever I have in my scenario here. So if I do use the scenario voice message, you can see that this is the message that I've created within my communicator system. There's an active shooter on campus. Please run, hide, or fight. Okay, and then custom alert, if you were to select that, these are any custom alerts that you've put in your Alert Us system. And then you can also down here specify how long you want the duration to be, what the message is, and down at the bottom here you can select certain groups of people within your Alert Us system on the custom alert. So if I wanted to notify everybody on the golf course, I could just select that and hit Add, and now everybody on the golf course is going to receive the Alert Us alert. So again, you do have to have the Alert Us system to, basically be able to activate to these Alert Us devices, but we have now integrated that directly into the portal in VESTA Communicator 5.1. So we're really excited about this for a lot of our clients that have it, and even if you don't, maybe for the future needs, you may be using Alert Us. Okay?
Great. Can I ask a couple of questions?
Yes.
Okay, first one, is there a minimum Alert Us server version that's needed?
I'm not sure of the answer to that. Jonathan, do you know the answer to that?
There will be a minimum version. I don't know that exact version number. It's probably the current release that's out now. But we can follow up and provide that information directly to you.
Okay. Writing it down. We'll find out, Jeff, and get back with you. And then Ricky asked, with the upgrade, will the Alert Us alert flag be activated for all of our already created scenarios?
So I can answer that.
Yeah.
So first of all, you have to have an Alert Us system, and then the Alert Us tab is optional within the system overall. So Alert Us is an add-on. Once we enable that add-on, the tab will be available in your scenarios and in activations, which Bernie will show you in just a moment. It will not be pre-populated or pre-enabled. So by purchasing this add-on and creating this integration, it will not automatically include any type of alerts in your pre-existing scenarios.
Okay. Does that cover it?
That covers it. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm going to get back to how to configure the Alertus server here in just a minute, so you might want to kind of keep that in the back of your mind. For now, though, I do want to move on to the next tab, which is the Messages tab. And we put a whole lot of great new features in the Messages tab. So let me start with the first one. If you'll notice, I'm in the Messages tab, and on the far right down here, there is a new tab called By Department. Now, if you'll notice, all of the messages here, if they're associated with the department, they will show up under the department heading here. So you can see I've got 4 messages that are, basically just for the training department here. Okay? So now you can assign messages to a department in VESTA Communicator 5.1. Now, if I click on, let's say, this fire drill message right here, if I want to, within the message family or within the message itself, you'll notice that we have this new drop-down called Assign Department. And this is where you assign it to a department. So if I only want the fire department to be able to use the fire drill messages, I can click on Fire Department and then save it and then go back out of it, and you can see that that fire drill message is assigned directly to the fire department. That's who can use it. And if you'll notice, when I go back there in that drop-down, it is searchable too. So if you have a bazillion departments in your system, you could just go in and type in the name of the department, and it'll you can go directly to it. So that's a great new feature within the message itself. Also, let's say that I've got a bunch of fire department messages in here, or messages that I want to be just for the fire department. We've also got the ability to assign department to messages right up here in the Quick Actions menu. So what I could do is I could go along and just select multiple messages, and now when I click on Assign Department to Message, I can go in and assign that to that particular department, a bunch of them at once if I want, or even one at a time, and just hit OK, and now I can assign multiple messages to a department. So those are some great new tools in the 5.1 version within the Messages tab here. Okay?
Great.
Thank you. All right, let me go back, let me step back a little bit to the Scenarios tab here. There's a couple of things I want to show you within this. So that active shooter scenario that I created earlier, I'm going to click back on that to open it. And I want to show you the Messages tab within the actual scenario since we're talking about messages. So I'm going to click on the Messages tab, and you'll notice we've got the same kind of thing in here. So before, you can really filter down and drill down the messages that you want. So before in a scenario, what you would do is you would do the drop down for whatever device, voice, email, or text, and you would have like all of these hundreds of messages, whatever you have in your system, that you would have to scroll through, right? Well, now we've made that easier for you because, again, you've got this search box, and you can just type in the message that you're looking for and go directly to it. Also, if you'll notice up above, you'll remember earlier I assigned a bunch of messages to the fire department. So if I want to just find those messages, here I can go and search for the fire department messages, and they will display below. So not only can I, assign a message to a department, I can now, when I'm going into the scenario itself, pull up by department, and it makes it a ton easier because I'm not just generally looking for all the messages in my system anymore. I can drill it down. So you can filter by department, and you can also select a message group from that, which is basically those ones that are assigned to that department. So again, if I want to search within that even, I can do that and look for the fire drill message. Okay, so we've we've given you multiple options for searching and filtering your messages in this new version.
So Bernie, let me reemphasize why this is important here. So one of our customers came to us and they said, we have 1,000 messages, probably 20 messages for each of our teams, and we have each of the messages labeled for that team or that department which they were working in. And when we get to that scenario stage, which you're just on, and we click messages, we have literally hundreds of messages here, and so it's hard to find the right one. So one, we added that search capability so you can quickly search and find the message you're looking for. But two, that many of our customers deploy the system with different departments, we allow them to filter these messages based on the different departments. That helps them get right to that subset of messages that they need for their scenario. So this is really just making it easier to find the right messages without sorting through potentially hundreds of messages in each drop-down.
Very good. Thank you, Jonathan.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions. So Phil asked in the Messages tab, and I assume he's talking about the one at the top, can we sort on the department to see only the messages assigned to a department?
Yeah, great question. So you'll notice I'm on the By Department tab within Messages like we were before, and up in your Look For box up here, you can actually look up By Department. So I can actually type in the Fire Department and hit Find, and now it's only going to show me my Fire Department messages. Great question.
Yeah, I think that works pretty well. Okay, and I have one more, and I'm not sure I understand it, but maybe you do. It's Lester asked, can this be set up when cascading?
Yeah, so if you're within a scenario, and down here, if you enable cascade calling, it's going to enable cascade calling either way if you do this checkbox here, and then, you'll choose the appropriate messages here.
Okay.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's still going to work. Correct?
Yep, that's correct. Oh, sorry, I thought you were telling him that. Yes.
No, I'm asking you.
Yes,
I'm asking you, Bertie.
Yes, thank you.
You Bertie mean. Okay.
There you go. There you
go. Keep going.
All right. No more questions?
No mas.
Not at the moment, anyway. Okay. All right. Let's see. All right. Another thing I wanted to show you was when you're within a scenario, and I'm just going back to where I was before. I showed you how you can filter by department, and it only shows the messages for those departments. You can also, whenever you choose a device message, you can search for it and all that good stuff. But what you used to have to do where it says answering machine is you would choose the voice message or answering machine message or whatever you wanted here. But if you'll notice, we have added this great new checkbox that says use the voice message for the answering machine message. So if I uncheck that, this is what it used to look like, where you would choose your answering machine message. And a lot of times, our clients would actually go ahead and just choose the same message as it was for voice. So basically they ask us, can you just put a checkbox down there? That way we can just, if it defaults to that, like a fire drill message, we can click that and it'll automatically just make it whatever you chose for the voice message. So that's a great new feature within the Messages tab of the scenario too.
I like it. I think a lot of people use that.
Yep, absolutely. Makes it easier, and that's what we're all about, trying to make it easier.
We like easy.
Yes, for the user, absolutely. Yep. The next great new feature is data sync status. So if I go to the Settings tab here, you'll notice that we've added a Data Sync Status tab down here at the very bottom. Let me kind of explain this a little bit, because some of you may be familiar with Data Sync and some of you may not. So whenever we, basically hook up your communicator system and everything, you've got this URL that you use to go into your communicator system. And then you also have a backup URL. And what that's used for is if your main system ever became inaccessible for any reason, you can log into a completely different URL that goes to a completely different server and do what you need to do in your communicator system until your main system comes back up. Now, what happens is if you log into that secondary URL, your backup system, what happens is it breaks that data sync that normally occurs. So data sync is like this. Basically, your backup system syncs with your main system at certain intervals. You know, it might be once a day or once a week or whatever you have configured. But basically, whenever the data syncs, it basically takes all the information from your primary system and pulls it into your backup so that it's always backed up with the newest information, if you will. So what happens is if you log into that backup URL, it breaks that data sync. So it will not automatically sync with your main system anymore. And what you've had to do in the past is call our technical support team and say, hey, can you reset my data sync for me, okay? So whenever you log into your backup URL, you have to call support, and they say, okay, we can reset your data sync for you, and it's done, and it'll start syncing once per day again or whatever it was doing before. But now yes?
Just to be clear, the default setting is it syncs every 4 hours.
Okay, yep, so every 4 hours, your backup system syncs with your main system, okay? But if you log into that secondary URL, it does break that data sync, and you normally would have had to call support to get that reset. But again, we've heard our clients, and they've said, look, can you make this easier for us? We don't want to have to either email or call support or whatever. So we did just that. We've put a new data sync status tab on here. And you'll notice mine says data sync is not configured for this company. So mine is not configured right now. So I took a screenshot and I want to show you what it'll look like. Basically, if yours is configured, which it will be, you'll see a button up here at the top right that says reset data sync. And it even gives you instructions down here. Go to settings, data sync status, and click the reset data sync. And go to settings, data sync status, and click the reset data sync. So basically, right there, you just click on that, and that resets your data sync, and you can do that yourself without having to go through our support team. So that is another great new feature. Again, we've listened to what you've wanted, and we've tried to implement that into the system to make it easier for you. Okay? All right.
Okay,
perfect.
Bernie.
Yes.
There's several people that are super excited about this new feature, and do we still get a notification that tells, will people still get a notification that tells them that their data sync is broken and needs to be reset?
Absolutely, and I was actually about to go over that next. So if you'll stay tuned, I'm about to talk about that right at this moment.
No, I cannot stay tuned.
Nope, you need it right now. Okay.
Right now.
Well, let's go into it then. So if I click on the Configurations tab, you'll notice we have added a new Configuration tab next to Data Sync. So here they are, guys, Roles, Configuration, and Data Sync. That's what we've added. So if I click on Configuration, here is where we're going to get into that. You see this area right here that says Data Sync Alert Recipients? What you can do is put someone's email, and you can put multiple people. If you put multiple people, you want to separate them by a semicolon, okay? So we'll go, okay, or whatever. All right, so that's what you do there. You add the people that you want to be alerted whenever that, basically the way this works is if somebody logs into your backup system, it alerts these people via email, because what it's doing is it's telling you, hey, your secondary system has now become your primary system, so we want to alert you to that, and that kind of lets you know that you need to go back in and reset that data sync. Great question.
Okay, so Jeff asked me a question. He said, so this is an all or nothing reset, right? Not done by an individual company.
Yeah, so this is actually done by individual company. So it's inside the company. Say you get an email and says your data sync for this company has been paused. You can log into that company on the secondary, click reset, log into the primary, click reset, and it'll sync right back up.
Yep,
and
so it's based on whatever you have here. Yep.
An additional thing we added is you'll also get an email, those same alert recipients that says the synchronization has been reestablished. So we added another touch point there to let you know when everything is all back and synchronized.
Yep,
Perfect.
Great question.
Thanks. Great question, Jeff.
Yep. So back to the configuration tab. So we kind of jumped ahead a little bit, but let me kind of explain both of these. Activation alert recipients, we're really excited about this because whoever's email address you put in here, every time a scenario is activated, they will be notified. And again, you want to separate everything, you know, by semicolon if you put multiple people. Okay, so any time a scenario is activated, these people will receive an email letting them know. You can also click this checkbox that says attach activation wave file. So these people, not only are they sent the email that someone has activated a scenario, but you'll also be able to hear it because it's going to attach that wave file for the voice message that was sent in the activation. So that's what that is, and then we just went over the data sync alert recipients. Someone logs into that secondary URL or your backup system, you will be alerted via email. So anyway, some great new features. Now, the survey, did you have a question, Wanda?
I do. Now, so does this data sync apply to hosted users as well, or just those that have their own servers?
It applies to both.
It does apply to both because some people have never had to reset it.
Understood.
And they're on a hosted system.
So we manage that more closely for you as a hosted customer, but it does apply to hosted customers and somebody who has that administrative level privilege to get in there to this tab on a hosted system would see this new tab available.
Okay. Okay. I think that answers the question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it has to be configured, the primary and the backup, whether you're hosted or on-premise. Yep. Good question. The next area is your survey default settings. So let me duck out of this and I'll kind of show you how this works. So we integrated this new surveys tab up at the top here in the last version, which is 5.0. And basically, you know, there are defaults that if I were to go in and activate one of these, let's say I want to activate this pandemic survey here, I would click activate next to it, and then whatever defaults right here is your default, okay? So we don't have any devices to default to. We actually have to go in and fill them in and all that stuff. But whatever you want this default to be, if you're going to send out either email or telephone surveys to your folks, that's what you do in that configurations tab. So if I go back here to settings and configuration, whatever I want it to be, let's say, you know, if I hover over, if you'll notice there's a question mark that we've added to all of this stuff on this page. That way it actually tells you what it is, okay, without Bernie even explaining it, you've actually got right here. So the device order, let's say I want it to default to sending a text and an email whenever a survey is sent. Oh, excuse me, it wouldn't be a text because it's either email or telephone. So let's say I do email cell, okay, so that's what I want the default to be. And then, you know, I want to send it out in 2 hours, 2 contact attempts, and 0 minutes delay, well, 5-minute delay between attempts, whatever. So whatever I set this at, and then if I hit save, whenever I send a survey out to my folks, then it's always going to default to that. And of course I could change it in there when I'm sending the actual survey, but it's going to default to this instead of what I showed you earlier. So that's what the survey default settings are. And then finally, at the bottom, you remember I showed you the alertus, the ability to, let me go back out of this real quick. If I go back into a scenario, and you remember this alertus tab right down here, and this is your alertus servers, okay? So to configure this server so that all this stuff displays down here, because let's say that we've activated your Alertus tab here. It's going to be blank initially because you have to configure your Alertus server. And again, if you go to Settings and click on that Configuration tab, it's right down here. It says Add Alertus Server. So that's where you do that. I've already got one here, so I'll just hit Edit next to it to kind of show you what it looks like. But that is what we saw on that drop-down within the scenario because I configured my Alertus server right here. So you can do that yourself directly from the portal in the Configurations tab. You can also select whether this particular server you're entering is going to be the default or not, because you could have multiple Alertus servers potentially. I'm sorry, did you say something, Wanda?
That wasn't me.
Oh, okay, sorry. Somebody else must have said something. I heard it too,
but I don't know what it was.
Okay. So again, those are pretty much the new features of VESTA Communicator 5.1. Just to kind of recap, custom user roles, Alertus integration, the ability to filter messages, search within messages, and select messages, a lot more powerful. The ability to reset your data sync, or your data sync, depending on how you say it. The checkbox for using the voice message for the answering machine message by default, and then all those many things that I just showed you within the configuration tab, like adding recipient emails whenever a scenario is activated, adding recipient emails whenever the Alertus the data sync is reset, and then adding those survey defaults and the ability to add that Alertus server. So that's what I've got for you all. If you're interested in migrating to VESTA Communicator 5.1 and you don't have it right now, please contact your regional account manager, and the phone number is 615-790-2882. There's their email address, which is NSS Nancy Sam sales at airbus-ds.com, which is short for communications, COMM.com. And now we'll open it up for any questions if anybody has any.
Oh, of course they have questions.
Okay.
So I've got several and a couple of comments. So somebody really likes the new data sync module, and I think it's just super cool.
Great.
Let's see here. Joseph asked, when will the upgrade be available, and can we add survey and one-touch link to VESTA alerts with this upgrade as well?
So let's start with when will it be available. Depending on whether you're on-premise or hosted. Hosted is in the process of planning out upgrades and migrations right now, and you'll receive a separate email regarding your upgrade schedules. For on-premise, if you're on 5.0 already, then you simply need to contact technical support and schedule an upgrade. It is an automatic upgrade, so if someone wants to ask that question, between 5.0 and 5.1, you do not have to purchase this upgrade. If you are on-premise and one of the 4 versions, then you would contact our sales as noted in that previous slide. So then, can we add survey and the link that automatically signs you into VESTA Alert? So both of those were released in 5.0. So yes, you can add the VESTA Alert single sign-on and the survey module once you're on the 5.1 version, or 5.0 for that matter. I think I got all the questions in that one.
You did good. You did really good. I was really proud of you. Somebody says they're on hosted and then went to 5.0 and they didn't get the survey or the I guess it's the single sign-on for VESTA Alert, right?
Sure, they're both optional features. So if the survey is generally sold as an add-on, so If they're on 5.0 and they'd like to add the survey, then we would contact their regional sales manager, and we can help them get that. And the VESTA Alert single sign-on is not a billable feature, so if you have VESTA Alert, you contact tech support and they can enable that for you. There's a secure handshake that takes place, and so you've got to generate a security token and share it with those systems. It's not automatic when it's enabled.
Okay, and I'm going to try and do your question, Lester, but I'm not sure I really understand it. He said, how many people can be enter for the alerts, and what would it say? What would the survey message say?
So I'm thinking he's talking about the configuration options where you can enter in email addresses for each of your individuals that want to receive an automatic alert for both data sync or for the activation notification. And there is a limit to the number of characters. So it's not a limit to the number of people. So there's 1,024 characters. So depending on how lengthy your email addresses is, will determine the number of its email addresses. So probably, I guess, 20 or so.
But you could still do things like, you know, for me, I'm part of the marketing at airbus.ds.com, you know, that kind of thing. You could still do groups like that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So you wouldn't have to do every person in the marketing department. You could just send one to marketing at Airbus, so on and so forth. Great question. I want you guys to, I'm going to say that's all of our questions unless somebody tells me real quick otherwise. I think we got them all.
I've spotted a few here.
Okay,
first
great.
Question from Joseph. Says we have VESTA Communicator and VESTA Alert, and we also have our VESTA 911 phone dispatch system. Is there a way that we can integrate the three programs? So the VESTA Communicator and VESTA Alert are very tightly integrated, especially when you add that single sign-on capability. And VESTA Alert also uses the phone, email, and SMS back-end capabilities of Communicator. Within the VESTA 911, there's not a current tightly integrated option available. And one of the main reasons behind that is because the VESTA 911 generally sits in a very isolated, standalone 911 PSAP environment, intentionally for security reasons. But we are moving more toward a software as a service model for our 911 call handling platform, and we're looking at ways that we can bundle all of the solutions together from a product and pricing perspective, and it'll be delivered in the same regional data centers. And at that point, we may look more deeply into how we want to more tightly integrate the solution. And so if you have ideas about things that would save you time or revolutionize your operations or your operator's ability to respond using our emergency notification platforms directly out of your 911 call handling system, we're absolutely open to that feedback.
Okay, how about this, Jonathan? I share a backup server with someone who is running 4.4.3, so data sync does not work with her version. When is the end of life for 4.4.3?
So that has not been announced yet. So more than a year at this point.
Okay. No time soon, Henry, sorry.
So I do see another question. Is someone wanting clarification when we're talking about roles and there was a radial button for all versus assigned? What exactly does that mean? So let me dive into that. So when you're creating a custom role, you choose between assigned or all. And all is the easy one. That essentially gives users that have assigned to this particular role available, they can see all the records. So if I have that HR admin role we created, if I set it to all and then gave them access to contacts, that means they see all contacts. So if I set it to assigned, they only see contacts within the department that user is assigned to. Similar for groups or scenarios, if they have access to groups or scenarios and I set it to assign, they can only see those groups and scenarios that they have specifically been assigned security privileges for. So all basically you can see all records. Assigned, you can only see specific records such as groups or scenarios you're assigned to.
Good.
I'm looking through the Q&A. I think we've got everything, but let me double check.
I'm not showing any more questions, Jonathan. And Bernie.
Nope, I think we're good on this end.
One more comment, certainly as you move to 5.1, Bernie is always available to help you do a deep dive into specific areas. And we added a lot in 5.0 as well, and that's rolled out pretty significantly in the last 6 months. If you need assistance with 5.0 or 5.1 features, Bernie hosts a lot of web-based training as well as our in-house and on-site training courses. So as you move to 5.0, if you feel, or 5.1, if you feel like you need more help, and certainly reach out to Bernie about the type of training sessions he has available.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. And on the screen is that email for sales again, but if you want to reach training, it's just NSS training without the dash in there. So it's nssstraining@airbus-dscom.com. Thanks for mentioning that, Jonathan.
Well, you know I want to keep you busy.
Absolutely. And I will be with this new version, trust me. Yeah.
And the other thing I'll say is that we will make this recording available. We'll send it to everyone who registered, and we'll put it on our website so that, you know, if you did, oh, I know he showed us how to do this feature, and you can go and watch this webinar again in your copious free time, because everybody has lots of free time, right? I think we're done, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Bernie. Thank you, Jonathan, for your wisdom and doing all this. And we will talk to you guys very, very soon. If you have any more questions, just feel free to reply to the email you got, and we'll get those questions answered for you. Take care and have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.